What's up, Vegas? I'm very excited for this episode. As some of you may have seen on Twitter, I am sitting here with Scott Lane, the founder of Loud Labs. I don't know if you guys have seen the documentary Shot in the Dark on Netflix. I believe it came out 2 to 3 years ago, but it is similar to the movie Nightcrawler, where a bunch of these guys have formed companies and they listen to a police scanner and run around LA and film breaking news. Whatever you think is breaking news and what you see on the news companies, that's what these guys are doing. So I'm more than fortunate to talk with Scott and everything that's going on with Loud Labs. So how's it going, Scott?
Hello. Hi.
Hey.
Hi. Thank you.
Appreciate you for coming on. No
problem.
Also, Jason, thank you for making this introduction. Jason is his partner that's not sitting with us on the mics, but is sitting in the room with us. How was your drive-in?
The drive-in was great. It was your normal drive-in. Well, actually, I take that back. I usually don't come out here for business. Coming out here for business this time was it was great. Made one stop where you're supposed to stop. Jerky.
Okay. Some alien jerky.
Got to get some jerky. And then I needed to grab some sandals, so I stopped at the outlet, the South Outlet, just at the Volcom store real quick, grab myself some sandals. Don't want to walk around my hotel room barefooted.
I guess this from this point moving forward, we'll get into your expansion later of coming out to Vegas. So now you have pretty much a different mindset coming out here and the different routes and just becoming acclimated with the grid that is Las Vegas.
Yeah, it's different driving it than being driven in it.
Also very true and
very
completely different from LA, where everything is just roundabouts and up and down, I don't know, roads that probably shouldn't be there.
Well, it's memory by now with LA. It's memory, and it's weird looking at a map. I will say that. Like, kids nowadays do not get lost. Do you remember being lost? We used to get lost.
Dude, yeah. That's when we had to print out on MapQuest where we were going before, but you're way before that.
I'm going to go before that, and I'm going to go Thomas Guide. Guide.
Not familiar with that.
Thomas Guide, yeah. So it was a book where you had to be smarter than the book. They would give you the intersections, and you'd go in the back, and you'd have to like figure some stuff out. So it was times have changed to where it's weird looking at a map. That's the whole point. It's like it was weird to be told where to go again. Mm-hmm. Looking where stories were like a fire came out. A fire came out last night. I was on Dean Martin, and then I saw it was Dean Martin and Warm Springs, and I saw where the fire was. I'm like, oh, the exit's Warm Springs. I'm 2 blocks away from this, but all of a sudden I got nerves because I don't know where it is.
Yeah.
I had to like look at a map to be like, oh, I need to go north, then I need to go west, then I need to go south. Oh, the fire truck's leaving behind me. That's how close I was. I'll just follow him. And it made it so much easier, but even when you're near something and you don't know how to get to it, it's frustrating, especially in this job.
Yeah.
Especially in this job.
Yeah, you're literally seconds away from either getting good footage or footage that won't be accepted by the news companies.
Seconds count. Seconds do count, but I'm learning as I get older, 5 seconds ain't that big of a deal. Now, when you're 25, 5 seconds means everything, but when you're 45, you're like,
Yeah, It's like what they say that when you get older, 1 year is a less of a percentage of your life, so time speeds up rapidly before that.
I'm no good at math, so I didn't understand what you just said.
Well, I mean, you're good at numbers, right? Counting the dollars.
Well, all right, I will say this, all right? I will say this, and you might be able to understand what I'm saying. If you're ever going to have somebody run your business, have your Jewish mother do it. Have your Jewish mother run the numbers.
Hey, cheers. So let's start all the way from the beginning. You said that you've generally been pretty good at directions as you were when you were younger.
Yeah.
Is that something that inspired you to get into the news chase, the news gathering thing?
No.
Like how did that come into fruition?
The news gathering was right place, right time, right skill set. The right skill set started when my parents got divorced and they started traveling me to grandma's house, to dad's house, to mom's house. And I just started remembering these freeways. It all started with the 91 freeway right near Valley View. And so Knott's Berry Farm, I would just know how to get places at 4, 5, 6 years old. And then as I got older, I was just like the guy who knew where to go. And then I picked up a camera, and then just the way that all the lines met right there, and bam, now I'm in your table. Now I'm in Las Vegas.
Yeah.
Viva Las Vegas.
How weird life is.
It is weird.
So when you picked up a camera, were you filming just anything? Were you filming typically breaking news? I've had a lot of people actually start filming skateboarding and biking. It's kind of a commonality between a lot of my guests.
Funny you say that, and I'll bring it full circle. So there's a guy named Kurt Osborne. Kurt Osborne has broken 2 world records, but he has 3 world records because the third one he broke was his own. But he did a wheelie for 11 hours nonstop. He also did a wheelie across America in 1999. I started filming him in 88, and I'll call it full circle because Kurt lives here now. Kurt lives here now, based out of Las Vegas. Personal trainer, was the guy who was training all the dancers. Since the shows have stopped, he's had to find other ways of doing things, but picking up a camera in the 80s when it was a VHS, it was our parents' VHS camera, huge. Picking that up, and Kurt rode a bicycle, and he would do tricks on a bicycle. The snowboarding, skateboarding stuff didn't quite come in until motorcycle riding. It's weird because we're just gonna, all right. So the generation before us, and I'll see if I can get back there. The generation before us, they were working generation. Our parents were workers. My generation, we went outside. And played. My generation made up sports that didn't exist. Snowboarding, motorcycle riding, jumping the motorcycles, freestyle, things like that. So when I was recording those things, and that's kind of how I got into knowing what to record, and I've always watched TV. It used to be a square. It wasn't a rectangle. So I used to know what looks good in the square.
And there's a big back end to it as well.
So, filming Kurt going, doing his things, and he went on that wheelie trip in 1999. And I went with him, and I was never not going with him. And the trip was thought out in like 91. Finally, we did it in 99. That footage was on Ripley's Believe It or Not. That footage was on ESPN. It was on Discovery Channel. It was all over the place. And so that was 99. And then my birthday and Christmas are all around the same time. My mom was injured. I took advantage of a great bad situation. And somehow I got a Canon XL1. I got that in December of 99. And then I was just filming my friends on their motorcycles, on their skateboards, on their snowboards for fun. And I was at a club, from what I remember. I looked at the footage. It exists. I was at the club, and there was a security guard at the Cowboy Boogie in Orange County, California, Anaheim. And he's like, "Hey, I like your camera. What else do you do with it?" I was like, "I just film my friends." And I only got it because that's when mini DV was coming out, and it looked better on TV than it did in real life. It was really weird. So a bunch of people offered me a job that night. And most of it was going to clubs, filming the club scene, and that wasn't for me. It wasn't for me. And it just so happened that his job was, I can put stuff on TV. And I was like, whoa. What was it? He's like, yeah, you go to these scenes and you put stuff on. I'm like, on Channel 2 or CBS, Fox, ABC, like that. He's go, yeah. I go, I like that. I don't want to go to a club at night and deal with a bunch of drunk people. I hate dealing with my drunk friends. But I get great footage. And at this point, we weren't doing anything with the footage. Later in life, we did stuff with the footage. Crazy white boys. Jackass opened up a lot of doors for people, and we took advantage of it. But grabbing the video camera in the 80s, when it was a VHS, is kind of what got me into that one night at the Boogie, meeting that security guard who offered something, and right place, right time, right skill set.
Then the epiphany.
Look at that. I did it.
Boom. Full circle.
Boom.
It's not only skateboarders are doing 360s.
Yeah. And like I said, man, it all started with Kurt. And he lives here now in Vegas, So it's just a weird situation that I make my living with a video camera. There was a point where I was getting tired of hitting record, but now I'm back being happy.
Yeah. It's funny that you say where you made the reference about the different generations, because actually on Twitter the other day,
and I didn't get to finish that reference, by the way. I'll finish it right now. Hold on. And don't forget your Twitter thing.
Go ahead.
I'll bring you back.
Go ahead.
The generation after us, they're staying inside. They're not going outside. And it was the generation before us, their hard work is what's keeping them inside. So we're right there in the middle of, we went outside. What's the generation after that, man? Are they not going anywhere? Is this where your Twitter?
This is the perfect lead up. Yeah. Right. I made a reference. I said the baby boomer generation is the corporate and executive generation. The millennial generation's a bunch of the entrepreneur generation. Generation Z, the Zoomers, is the influencer generation. And so I was like, well, what is Generation X? And a few people who are a part of your generation commented like, well, we're the pioneers.
We went outside.
Yeah, we're the pioneers. You guys started many different industries. And because you use the work ethic of your parents and grandparents.
Not everybody, because a lot of people dress hip hop like, but if you don't dress hip hop like, you're still dressing like the way we did in the 90s at the beach, except our clothes aren't as big and baggy anymore. But it used to be like you were called a surfer, a snowboarder, a skater. I was a snowboarder. But now you're just a bro, but they don't, you're not put into one session, one group anymore. Now it's just,
we're not allowed to do that anymore. You need to get canceled if you do it.
Well, that's another thing too, is you can't cancel me. You can't cancel self-made people. Good luck.
Okay. Interesting.
I don't have anybody I need to answer to. The stations do not care where the footage comes from, especially here in Las Vegas, because there is no market, and we'll obviously get into that too.
Yeah, and even if going to the Netflix documentary, they made you out to be the heel in the documentary. But when I watch your videos and sitting here talking with you, you don't seem like a heel. Yeah, was that something that was purposely done for the ratings?
Don't believe everything you see on TV. Mm-hmm. Don't be mad at me for anything you saw me do on TV. That's what I always tell the cops. I enjoyed it. There has to be a good guy. There has to be a bad guy. It's your choice on how you think about it. They showed me being me. They showed Zach being Zach. Howard played up for the cameras a little bit. But for the most part, that's who we are. Now, granted, there was a bunch of moments they could have used to make me look a little different, but there was a narrative that needed to get past. And I don't mind being that guy, because when you do get to meet me, or when you do see me doing my job, or when you do find out that I'm not just all about death and money, which is crazy, because I hate money. I hate talking money. I just hate dollars. I really do. It's like, cool, dinner, I'm going to pay for it. This and that. It's like, if I said I'm going to pay for it, I'm going to pay for it. Or when people talk about like a bill here or how much this is, it's like, you kind of shouldn't talk about that publicly. My parents taught me, like, I still don't know to this day how much money my parents made. Where I get people asking me all the time, how much is a hit? How much is this? How much you get on Netflix? How much? I go, weren't you raised properly to where you don't talk money like that? And it's just, it's a weird situation. And with the cancel culture stuff, it's, the stations don't care about obviously I'm going to mind my P's and Q's. There's certain words we don't say anymore. We do grow up. There's certain times, and I'm not going to get into that one right now. I'll get into
the footage is objective more so.
Yeah. So they made me out to be who I am, but they didn't show all of me. I can say that. And that's one of the reasons I started doing my live stream. Was the show brought out so many cameramen, so many people wanting to do what we do. The show didn't show us sitting on our butts growing hemorrhoids. It didn't do that. It didn't show us waiting with the cameraman falling asleep in the back seat, and then all of a sudden me putting in driving, he woke up and go, "Oh, we're going." He's like, "Dude, I've been asleep for 3 hours." I'm like, "You have been." I go, "I've been sitting here playing chess." It's like, they don't show that part, so that's why I started streaming. And I've been YouTubing quietly since 2012 to 2018. And then publicly since 2018 now. And I say publicly as in putting my face on there. Mm-hmm. Before it was just our footage. Now, and that only got us to like 60,000 subscribers. And I'm a 45-year-old adult male. Views used to not mean anything to me, but now I'm growing up and I'm understanding mainstream media versus social media. I'm not in control of mainstream. I'm in control of the social. So 60,000 in 6 years, and now we're up to 170 just in the 2 years I put my face in there. I'm not stupid. So I'm going to continue putting my face on there. And then I'm also going to do another channel to where I can put my face on that channel and not my face on the main channel, because sometimes what I say is not professional, and I would like to keep our business professional. But it's hard to do when you don't have to.
Right. You know and especially once you begin to expand, as like you're coming to Vegas, and I saw a few other cities like San Luis Obispo and New York. You're not going to be in all of these locations. You're probably just going to be out in LA. So you need some of your, whoever the leaders are, to put their face out there or to lead the charge.
Yeah. Adam in New York. Adam in New York has quickly become the best stringer in New York, and it shows. He is professional. He is professional at scenes. He's professional on camera. He's professional on his YouTube page. I'm not. I can't be. I'll be professional at a scene, but if I'm in my car, that's my space. You know, if I'm outside the scene, I will respect the scene. But inside the car, I used to respect the job, and then I'm learning, like, why? I'm starting to make a living smiling, talking shit on people. That's funny. I used to make a living hitting record. I still do, but now, like, I was kicked out of every school I went to except the one I graduated from. And now I'm making a living for the same reasons I was kicked out of school.
It just shows there's an avenue for every single person out there. It's not, you don't have to go the traditional route. And now how society is propelling forward, the majority of people are becoming entrepreneurs and influencers, or leveraging all of these on top of each other, as so you were doing.
If you ask a kid who's 8 years old, what do you want to be when you grow up? They say an influencer.
They do.
They say a YouTuber. A few years ago, I was hanging out with my son, and footage was on TV, the news. I was like, hey, man, there's our logo. He's like, right on. And then I went to the YouTube page. He's like, hey, look, your footage is on YouTube. I go, I know, I put it there. But he was more excited to see it on YouTube than on the news. And the news is what feeds us. And I get it, mainstream versus social. Times are changing. I've been in this business for 20 years. I've seen the change. The biggest change came this past year.
Do you have a fear of losing out business because people are becoming turned away from mainstream media?
No, and I answered that way on purpose, because I'm getting to the point, and my guys don't want to hear this, and we're going to have this conversation on November 15th. I am still 100% in the mainstream media game, but there's a ceiling. There is no ceiling when it comes to social media.
Yeah,
I know exactly how hard you have to work to make a certain amount of money being a stringer, and I was the best at it. So I know what it takes to do this. And in YouTube, I'm seeing what's happening, especially the past year. Like, I'm making changes on November 15th, I'm having a Worksgiving. I'm having a Worksgiving at my place. My wife and my mom are going to make us a great Thanksgiving dinner. We're going to sit down, eat it, and then I'm going to talk for a while, like I usually do every day. But I'm going to talk to my guys about some changes, how we're going to do things. We're definitely not going to stray away from mainstream, but we're going to make it to where it used to be you hit record and you didn't know if you were going to make $1 or not. That's stressful. I figured out a way and came up with a way where you hit record, you're going to at least make something, no matter what. Unless it's a scene that nobody cares about. Like, if you got a triple fatal and it's just yellow tape, do an investigation, I'm not going to post that to YouTube and try to do, ads and stuff like that. But if you have visuals, then I'm going to throw it up there and do ads and things like that. So when it comes to what you're in charge of and what you can control, two different things, man. I've never been in control of social media. The only thing mainstream, the only thing I was in control of is my schedule. I get to go to work whenever I want. I get to sleep whenever I want. It's the greatest schedule for me. And now with being able to hit record, less stress, I'm trying to pass that on to my guys. That is my goal for 2021, is to get my stringers, and I have a 5-year plan. I really think my stringers can be making more money through YouTube than we can on social media, on mainstream media. The cool thing about the social is it'll give you gas money for that mainstream. Now, the mainstream is all about pride, and I get it. Social, it's not about pride. But as a Jew, I know what happens with cents and dollars. I know what happens with cents and dollars. And the funny thing about that is, like, when it comes to Judaism, I was never involved in that. I did, participate with my grandpa on, with the menorah and all that stuff. And as I got older, I was like, I own a business in the entertainment industry. I was like, I'm supposed to, right? Isn't that what we're supposed to do? Mm-hmm. Like, isn't that what they say? And it's funny because I did not start out to be the boss. And then when I say it, I'm like, oh, I'm the boss of this company and my mom's Jewish.
Doing the finances
in Hollywood, like that isn't there's jokes written about stuff like that. So it's like I fit into that joke somewhere.
Is that part of the reason why? And this is something that was on in the documentary, but was never gone into detail of why you ended up leaving OnScene and the other one's RMG. Yeah, they did mention that you were the beginning founder and OnScene and one of the other ones. All
right, so I'm not going to say founder. A gentleman named Rob founded OnScene, and Rob and Brent were together forever. Brent is the one who found me at the club in Anaheim. So I was working with them, and they were only a daytime outfit. They were only stringers during the day. Then 9/11 happened, and before 9/11, I was working from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. As a 25-year-old, I mean, come on, 10 a.m. to 2
not
p.m.
sound profitable at all.
Well, you can't move about the day. You can't drive during the day. There's so much traffic back in LA back in the day. None anymore, but there was back in the day. You could not go anywhere. So if you got a story after 3 o'clock, you could not drive it to the drive point. And there's no reason to get a story before 10 o'clock because all the news helicopters were out. So by the time I woke up around 9 or 10, I was able to go to work, finish my day at 2 or 3, go surf, drink a little bit, have the night, wake up and do it all over again. It was the greatest schedule ever. Then 9/11 happened and daytime news changed. And then I saw a logo pop up on TV 2 weeks later. That logo happened to be the same guy who taught my boss how to string. So I said, hey, you teach me how to beat him. So I was the first guy from On Scene to go into the night. And Zach was, I think, junior high at this time. So Zach was not even part of the On Scene at the time. And so I brought On Scene into night. They brought on another few people. And so I kind of decided and figured out where to sit throughout the night. And to this day, that is where stringers still sit. One of the stringers and I was in the center. He was in the north. We had one in the south. The guy in the north and the guy in the south saw how much money I was making in the center. They dropped down, dropped up. At some point, what's the point of me being here if your guys' circle connects right here?
They're converging on you.
Why am I here? And then I found out one day that my buddy, he's my buddy now, my buddy Josh lied to me about where he was. So that day I'm like, I'm out. I quit. I went over to Howard. I go, hey. And during this time with On Scene, I had met Howard. They were full-time paparazzi at the time, just doing stringing at night, for fun. And I even showed Howard, I was like, hey, you guys are out here for fun. Why don't you feed your footage? So when I was with On Scene, I created my own competition by telling RMG what to do. A few months later, I left On Scene and I go, hey, do you guys have a logo? And they're like, we can. I was like, what I did for On Scene's logo, I want to see if I can do for your logo. So in 2006, took the leap of faith, dropped that guy, went to RMG, was with RMG from 2006 to 2012. I have zero problems with RMG. The only reason I left was it was just time for me to do my own thing. You're sleeping. You're making a percentage of my dollars. I, as an adult, need to do my own thing. And in 2012, I took the leap of faith and went on my own and started uploading my footage to YouTube that day. And I only uploaded so other people around the country could see what was going on, or if producers from around the world wanted footage from South LA, they can get a hold of me. I didn't start monetizing until like 2017. And even after that, it was gas money. And then things changed, and they're changing.
Yeah,
they're still changing.
That's what happens when you're on Netflix. It just brings a lot of attention out there. But also, it's smart that you put things on YouTube, because there's a principle that I always talk about. It's called applied luck, where it's like basically you put yourself in so many different situations that the luck will eventually find you, because you're just out there promoting whatever it is you're doing.
Yeah, and I mean, in 2007, we did our first reality show, Stringers LA. That was on True TV. It got 2 seasons, but because of the Olympics and the election and the hope and all that stuff, we didn't get a lot of airtime, and it kind of just went away. But one of the things you said made me think of that, and I forgot my thought process on that for that. I'm sorry.
Applied luck, putting yourself in different situations.
That was it. So after we got on that show, I was a cameraman. I was into reality, and I was like, I'm going to try some stuff. So I tried. Nothing to do with stringing. I tried, I did sell a show I sold the pilot to MTV. It happened to be the same year that it was Travis Pastrana's Nitro Circus, or our show, which was basically BAM, but with motorcycles. Well, obviously they're going to go with Travis Pastrana. So I tried that show. I tried to show him Fuel. I tried a bunch of stuff, and I was told no. And I don't like being told no. And I was like, you know what? Why don't I go back to doing what got me here in the first place? Why am I doing all this? I'm doing all this because I was just on a show and I thought I could ride that wave. That wave did not start. But what it did was it made me realize that I'm going to go back to what got me here. And I just focused on stringing. And then the opportunity came along again, the movie Nightcrawler. As we researched for the role, words that were in my mouth that I said in the first reality show were written into Jake Gyllenhaal's mouth. He says it at the end of the show. When you were saying at the beginning how Nightcrawler, Shot in the Dark is just part 2 of Nightcrawler, but reality. Nightcrawler ended in the way my life was exactly at that moment. I was putting a team together in 2014. In 2012, I started on my own and I didn't need a team. And then Zach took over on scene and started bringing in all kinds of people. And I'm like, I need to bring on people. So I brought on my cousin. Then I started bringing on some other people. And then the movie ended exactly in the way my life was going at that time. So when you watch that movie, you'll see that Lou Bloom has a way with words. I sometimes have a way with words. RMG, Howard, they were consultants on the movie. Matter of fact, the other two brothers are in the movie as stringers. They gave them all 12 episodes of Stringers LA when they wrote this out. So the director, Dan Gilroy, was able to look at my 12 episodes of me being me, looked at some video blogs I did, and then I met him at the premiere, and he goes, oh yeah, I researched you. He's like, I didn't work with you because I had just signed with RMG, and I just left RMG. So when I wasn't a part of the movie because I just left RMG, but we all kind of saw it and we know what transpired.
You were the perfect character for it.
Yeah, and it's weird because it's actually a character between me and Zach, a lot of people think, where it's, you know, because Zach's a little weird on camera and Lou Bloom's a little weird, so a lot of people applied that to Zach, but it's like, if you put me and Zach together, that's probably Lou Bloom. But Zach really wasn't around, so, well, he kind of was around when they were making that. So yeah, it's very possible he could have, you know, saw Zach as well when he was writing that movie, for sure.
Do you think as a stringer, it's important to kind of embellish your character when you're out there stringing and filming and meeting all these people? Because it seems like Zach seems like he was more of like the professional type, like very professional when it comes to talking with the police officers. You know, you're a little bit more charismatic. You let them know what you're feeling. Is there a specific way or etiquette as a stringer to approach these different situations?
Growing up, I was always the kind of guy who walked away from the police when you saw the police. Now that I'm older, my job is to go to them. So I've learned some things and, you know, have become an adult. The way Zach did it, it's not bad. It's not bad. I just knew he was going to do it. And the director was with me and I go, watch this. And he said there was no splicing. He just took video A and put video B together, and it just worked out where I'm like, this is me, Zach, because I've seen him do it before, where I will leave my business card on the fire truck seat as I'm leaving. So they'll see it and they'll be like, oh, he was here. So now they know they can go to YouTube and find it. Or if somebody reaches out to me and says, do you have a card? I was always taught, stay small. Don't become the story. Just don't say anything. It's hard not to say anything when you say things. So Zach does do it right, but he just goes about it a little too. When you say the word CEO and you're in South LA, it just doesn't transpire the right way. If you just say, I work with, I own, I'm with.
Yeah, they think it's more of like an ego flash.
Yeah. And because the way he says it, that's why I always made fun of it. And when I saw it happening, I go, he's about to do his business card thing. And I go, Jeff, zoom in. And sure enough, man. And the other camera guy didn't know it was happening. I mean, he knew it was happening, but he didn't realize what was going on there. Jeff knew. So Jeff went right back into the edit bay that night, dude. And just, he's like, this scene is great.
That's awesome.
Because it just shows the two different personalities.
That's awesome. Yeah. It's when I'm also same mentality to use, go the opposite direction of police officers. But when you're in that and you do it for so long, you realize that these police officers, these firefighters, they're just people too, and they want to be recognized. Well, and you brought up something too that I didn't realize, that the firefighters would want to watch the footage as well, because it can either help them assess the situation to become better, or maybe it's used in some sort of litigation down the road or something like that.
Okay, firefighters call it training, but what it is, hey, I want to show my family what I'm doing. That's what it is. Now, they will use it as training, but they love watching themselves, and for great reason. And yes, they are always learning something from it. Police think we're going to get the next Rodney King, and that's not what we're trying to do. We're not trying to do that. And with the group of friends I grew up with, that's why you went the opposite way of the police. But now that we're all adults and I have a business, it's my job to go to the police. So I'm not in that same frame of mind I was back in the 90s. Like, the 90s for me are real fuzzy. Like, our parents talk about their 60s. To me, that's my 90s. My 90s, I remember it all, but it's, got to figure it out, you know? I got to figure it out.
Is there ever a situation where you pull up to a scene and maybe it's not the best decision to record that specific footage based off of, I don't know, some extenuating circumstance, or maybe...
It's not see it, shoot it, send it. It's see it, shoot it, judgment call. There's no reason not to shoot something and then make the decision about it later. So I do shoot first and ask questions later. I do. Now, there are times where you get there where you might be in danger and you got to be careful about shooting it. But if I go there, there's a reason why I went there. And then by going there, I'm already hearing stuff about it. I'm going to lay eyes on it and I'm going to want to try to make something out of it. Or it just ends up not being a news story. But nowadays, stuff that is a non-news story. So here we go. There's breaking news and there's streaming news. I'm learning streaming news is very effective. So if we have a bad guy being pulled over for stealing a car, if he doesn't get bitten by a dog, get shot by bullets, rubber bullets, less lethal, real bullets, run away, it's not news. If he just gets out and put his hands up, that's not news. Although it should be news today. But if my cameraman, let's say that guy, it is the end of a pursuit, and my guys film like 10 seconds here, 10 seconds there, 10 seconds there, that may or may not be a hit. But if you get to that scene and you hit record and don't hit stop until he's in handcuffs, streaming news loves it. Streaming news loves it. And I'm learning these little tricks, and I'm too old to be learning these tricks, but you have to if you want to stay current. You have to. Otherwise, you're just going to be stuck in old ways. And so I'm very open and learning, and I see what I look at analytics. I'm seeing what's happening, and it's opening my eyes.
That's smart. I didn't even realize that. But when it does come to streaming news, people just want to be in that situation with you, whether there is some sort of wild outcome or not. Yes, but people are bored on the internet too, to begin with.
Well, 2020. A lot of people went to their phones and their computers to be entertained. So I'm friends with a YouTube gamer, Polecat, and he came to visit a few years ago. And I was like, that's not a story. He's like, I don't care. He's like, I just need to hit record. I was like, that's not news. He's like, it doesn't matter. And I was like, what are you talking about? He just came by 2 months ago, 2 weeks, 3 weeks ago. And he's like, you remember what I was saying that it doesn't matter? He's like, you know what I mean now? I'm like, uh-huh. I do. It does matter. It content. That's all that matters, man. And I hate that word.
Content is king. Dude, I hate that phrase.
Word.
Yeah.
Or just I'm gonna be the content king. The movement. I'm gonna open up the page to all stringers around the world. Wow. You want now. I'm not looking for the one-offs. I'm not looking for the guy who just goes out once in a while. I'm looking for the companies that put in nightly and get nothing back, and you're in it for the passion. I'll give you something back now. And I'm going to promote your local page so you can start making money on your page. The movement.
That's getting loud for sure.
The movement.
Is there ever a time where, most of the time when you go out and string, and more specifically in the documentary, a lot of it is tragic news. There's DUIs and deaths and car crashes and flips and robberies. Is there any time where it's uplifting news where you go out there and capture it?
So I don't say this anymore because it got real old, and this was kind of what was written in the Jake Gyllenhaal's mouth. So my reality is people's most harshest reality. I'll be there at the worst time of your life. I used to always say that, and that was the line that was written in the movie. I like to believe I'll be there at the worst time of your life. So in order for me to have a good day, somebody has to have a bad day. And as we were discussing in the hallway about bottle service and stuff, about how you can talk about, I can't talk about my job in front of people. If I say, dude, I got 3 hits, man, three people died. Like I catch myself being excited, but if I know you, you know that it had nothing. Like my feelings are so far gone. I look through that.
Yeah,
I look through that. I don't look like this when I'm at a scene. I look through that. And animal rescues.
That's what I was thinking. That's all I was thinking.
That's it. Every once in a while, I can use my abilities for good, but at the same time, I'm using them for good, but I'm backdooring my real stuff. So let's say there's a found child at 4 a.m. I go there and I can tell the officers, "Hey guys, I can put this kid on TV right now, and we can find the parents. But I'm also going to make a bunch of money." You don't say that part. But you found ways to where you can make you look good by being bad.
Yeah, it's circumventing the PR.
Yeah, so it sucks. And I don't like to beat around the bush. I don't, but the officers now know why we are there. We are there to cover a story. If we're with a station, we're not there to make money. We're there to cover a story. If you're with one of the private outlets, you're there to make money covering a story. So there's a difference between the two, and the stations now, or the police, especially because of the show, the police now respect us a little more, or
it's like, I hope so.
It's under. Respect is here. It used to be here, but they now understand what we're doing, and the show has completely helped. It's helped out so much. Like, I have yet to have a run-in with an officer who didn't want to shake my hand or say hi, who was mad at me for something he saw me do on the show, where a bunch of other people got mad at me for things I did on the show. But the cops, I have this one, I think captain in LAPD. He's like, dude, I got to get a picture. I got to send it to my wife. She's like, when we were watching it, she's like, he's talking shit on you. And he's like, I know, I love it. And I wasn't talking shit on the officers. It was just at that certain time, like, and it goes to the whole thing about when growing up, my parents didn't teach. My dad was a firefighter. My parents didn't really teach me they just taught me right and wrong. They didn't teach me what to think. So
not how to evaluate.
Yeah.
Right and
So
wrong.
growing up, I was like, I'm running away from that cop. Well, I'm teaching my kids now, when you see an officer, what do? Say hi. There's our hero. If you ask some kids, what do you do when you see a cop? Oh, I straighten up, put my seatbelt on. Sorry. I straighten up, put my seatbelt on, buckle up. Like, a lot of parents use officers like, oh, I'm going to call the police on you. Or do you want that officer to arrest you? It's like, don't teach your kids that. And I'm not a bootlicker. I'm just realistic. That's all. And so it's like, the way we perceive police and the way we perceive firefighters are two different things. The way we perceive police when you're younger, the way you perceive them as you're older are completely different. And it's just a matter of your turn.
It's true, and they exacerbate that with mainstream media as well. As you see that now, most police officers have to look over their shoulder because they think
it's not an easy business right now.
They think the mob's coming for them.
It's not an easy business right now. I have friends and family in the policing industry. It is not an easy business right now. And try to recruit. Good luck. Try to recruit police right now.
What we were talking about when we walked up, Mike Thomas, who I had on here, he was in charge of the police department for like 25 years.
Sheriffs.
In the industry. Yeah.
Sheriffs. West Hollywood Sheriff.
And he was speaking on exactly to the tune that you're talking about, is the reason why a lot of these police officers are having these, I guess you call them the bad cop moments, is because a lot of the people have negative reactions when they see him. They start running or tightening up, which makes the police officers flinch for that movement. And even though they should probably take better precautions, we're still human, and it's still that fight or flight moment.
You know, I've been saying this for years. Police go every day without shooting somebody. And I've seen so many opportunities where I thought, I'm going to get a shooting on camera. And I didn't. So it's because of social media, because of situations you were just talking about, we see more policing now. People say, record the police. Go for it, but don't bother them while you do it. First Amendment auditors. Record the police, but don't bother them doing their job, or don't agitate them while doing their job. That's fine, recording them, but going to somewhere to get them to come so you can record them, that's just stupid, because now they're wasting time. You're wasting everyone's time. It's all perception. It's all perception.
Social justice warriors. You guys heard that here first. If you're part of the woke renaissance, hold your tone for a little bit, because you're doing it disservice, but you're also bringing.
It's loophole media is what I call, First Amendment auditors. Now, I don't have a problem with any auditors per se. I just have a problem with what they do, because you're now making me look bad, but yet I appreciate them, because the way that police used to think about us is how they think about them now. And now they respect us and they don't respect them. Now, the difference between a police watcher and, like, there's First Amendment auditors and there's police watchers. That's fine. But when you go to a public place and film people in public and agitate them enough to call the police over so you can teach people lessons, what are we doing there? What are we doing? Now, if somebody's giving somebody a ticket and you want to film that to make sure that their rights are not infringed on, go for it. And when it comes to all that, it's like, let's say you get pulled over for nothing and you're all bummed about it. Well, as long as you're not doing nothing wrong, and people hate this word, just comply.
Yep.
Maybe your First Amendment rights were infringed on, and I might be the wrong color to be talking about this, but maybe your first rights were infringed on, but you are able to talk about it. You can still talk about it. Like you have a story. There's been so many times where I had a okay right to complain on the cops. Do you know how many times I've called a police sergeant or the watch commander to complain on an officer or a deputy in my 20 years?
Probably zero. Zero, yeah.
I have dudes on my team who have been on my team for less than 2 years and already made dozens of calls complaining on cops. And I asked them not to. I go, you can call, but don't say you're with us. Go, you're just on your own. I get why they are the way they are at the scene, and I understand it. And you can push me around, that's fine. If you ruin my shot, I'm going to be upset. But if you want me to move, I'll move. Even though I'm allowed to be here, I know it. I'm allowed to be here. But you have a job to do. I have a job to do. I'm going to let you do your job because I respect you. But it is a two-way street, and they are starting to appreciate us a little more. They really are.
Have you ever thought about teaching some sort of classes or some sort of etiquette on how to approach situations where an emergency service is out there doing their job? Because, as we were talking about First Amendment auditors and this kind of generation, they're just going balls to the wall for everything. And we saw it with the
I've learned some stuff.
as well.
I've actually learned some stuff from First Amendment auditors. I didn't realize I could yell at the cops like that. I didn't realize I can call them kind of names.
Is that from capturing the protests over the last 6 months?
No, it's from following the movement. I've seen the movement the past couple of years on social media. I've seen what they're doing and how they're agitators who turn into victims. This is a really weird one. I want to know your opinion on this. So let's say a First Amendment auditor goes to a scene. He went to that scene, and now he's filming women coming in and out of the gym. All right? So a guy in the gym don't like that. He comes out to tell the First Amendment auditor, stop. Well, the gym member gets in the way of the First Amendment auditor's breathing space, and he pepper sprays him right in the face. It's bear spray. So he pepper sprays him. He goes down on his knee, and now the guy is... So the First Amendment auditor, it's almost the same thing as the Kyle situation. The First Amendment, and I don't want to get into the Kyle one because that one's way too deep. This one's much easier. The First Amendment auditor was protecting himself, but he went there to make the scene happen. If he didn't go there, he wouldn't have needed to spray that guy. So he brought it upon. So with a good lawyer, who's in trouble? You see what I'm saying?
Yeah, that's going back to the loopholes.
Loophole media.
Yeah,
You're allowed to be on that sidewalk filming stuff, but yet you were filming girls to get a reaction. You got the reaction. You did your thing. He's now on the ground with stuff in his eye. You got great video, so you can make a bunch of views and money on YouTube.
And
at what cost?
Yep, and both can play the victim card in that situation.
So it's loophole media, and like I said, I don't have any problems with any auditors because I just don't agree with what they do.
Yeah, and you can't tell if they're doing it for honorable and noble reasons or if they're doing it for the social media attention grab.
Yeah, there's an OG named Tom Zebra out of Inglewood. Tom used to ride his bike around. I call him an OG because he was one of the guys who would just film police. He wouldn't film people, so they would call the police. He would just film the police. That's fine. But he was trying to inform the public. He wasn't trying to get views where there's some guys, like I said, I've learned some things. I didn't know I could yell at cops like that. I didn't know there's things that I could say. And a lot of people travel here. There's a lot of out of Las Vegasans that make their way here to do the First Amendment audits, to the security guards, to Metro PD, to, construction sites. So dumb.
Yeah. Speaking of moving out to Vegas, let's touch on your expansion out here because Vegas is it's a weird city, right? It was built on tourism, and where a lot of the action happens, a lot of that is considered private property. So it's like, how do you go out and film a lot of the things that happen on the Strip when you can be bounced out from that situation immediately or take some sort of legal action against you? And then outside of the Strip, there's a few, casino areas that are a little bit more... you can walk around a little bit more freely as well. And then there's a grid with Henderson and Summerlin and Northtown. So there's a lot of different communities within it. But I guess you would have a little bit of experience with that with LA being what it is.
So when it comes to the laws here and the laws there, I don't really know the difference. I just know private property and public property. When it comes to stories on the Strip, do you guys care? You don't. We might, but you don't. So the fires and the car accidents all away from the Strip, that's what people here care about. And that's what Jason is doing. He is showing them what's going on in their community on Facebook, and then he's going to be showing them what's going on with that video on YouTube. When it comes to mainstream media, there aren't stringers here. There aren't. There is no market. He is creating the market. Whether he makes a name for himself by selling it for $1 or selling it for $1,000, he's going to create that market. But you don't need to sell to mainstream media anymore to be in the know. So a lot of people don't want to watch that mainstream media. And then they only watch that mainstream media to see the car accident, the shooting, the fire, and they're only going to show you 30 seconds of it, where he'll show you 3 minutes of it or 30 minutes of it if it's in a extended extrication, depending on what it is. So when it comes to shooting stuff on the Strip, it's cool, but nobody in Las Vegas really cares.
Yeah, besides right now with all the shootings that are happening. But that's, like I said, Vegas is between like a rock and a hard place right now because of the clientele that's been coming in. A lot of people say it's because the room rates are lower, which therefore brings in that crowd, and there's a lot of shootings. But Vegas doesn't want to put too many police officers there because then it makes it look like it's a wasteland where people are like, wow, something drastic happens or something as bad is about to happen.
So I can say the same thing right now for Venice Beach and Hollywood Boulevard. And I've been saying this for a few weeks now. You can gauge how our state is doing. Well, my state, how my state is doing by Hollywood Boulevard and Venice Boulevard. If Hollywood Boulevard is striving with tourists and you got characters over there asking people for money to take pictures and everyone's taking pictures on the ground, you know the state's doing good. If Venice Beach is filled with tourists, you know the state's doing good. You can't go to Hollywood Boulevard right now and feel safe. You can't. During the day, maybe, but at night, it's basically just a party on the boulevard. People take their cars, they're cruising, drinking, smoking. Some of the places are open, some of them are not, but the whole boulevard is just a party every night, and you can see the smoke rising. So when I feel like your Strip is the same thing. When you see tourist after tourist after tourist just snap, 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 and not just people wearing Hawaiian shirts walking down with this, you know the state's doing great. So it's kind of the same thing, I'm guessing.
It's similar. It's a weird predicament because of the COVID restrictions. They say that a lot of the crime is also happening because there's no nightclubs open, there's no comedy shows, there's nowhere to house people.
Is the buffets open, by the way? Are they open? Fat lives matter. Fat lives matter. Open the buffets.
Some of them aren't opening up ever. Again, Wynn tried to open up and do like a plated service thing, but they closed it back down.
That was my favorite buffet. Mm-hmm. The Wynn was my favorite buffet.
Yeah, I believe they closed it back down, unfortunately. But a lot of these amenities aren't open yet. So basically everyone's just walking around with Fat Tuesdays, just asking for trouble.
And what's crazy is you get low room rates with high resort fees, but your pool is open. That's the only thing. No room service, no other resort fees. Not going to clean your room for you. It's like you get great low room rates with high resort fees with no resort amenities. It's really weird.
It's a pain. So as you begin to expand out here in Vegas, is there anything particular to the city that you see or that Loud Labs can take advantage of that isn't in LA in terms of maybe your footage style or the breaking news or events or anything of that nature?
You got to understand New York and LA are the two biggest markets in this country. So anything that happened in LA already happened before it happened here. Like nothing new is going to transpire here. And then all of a sudden, we're going to take that back to LA. Mm-hmm. The only thing new that's transpiring is just the way that we're conducting business. And we don't need Fox, NBC, ABC. We don't need them to be here. We're here and we're doing it on our own. And that is where independent news and mainstream media are definitely, nobody cares. Nobody cares anymore because you don't know if it's real or if it's fake. And
that's an advantage that you have because a lot of the mainstream is called fake news.
Yeah. And so if that's a dead guy that you see, the only thing that could be fake is the story around it. Like there's a dead guy and he's not going to lie about how that guy died. He's going to do his best. Now, the information he got right away might not be correct, like the Saddle Ranch shooting. We knew, but we didn't know, and then we found out what happened. And once we found out what happened, then the story got straight. At first, it was police shooting or just a man shot dead. South Point. Sorry, South Point. We just knew a man died. We didn't know it was a security.
Oh, this was real recently. Yeah.
This was like 3 weeks ago?
Yeah.
Yeah, we didn't know that it was a security guard that killed the man. The man walked around, shot in the air, and then security found him. He pointed it at security, and security did their job. Whether you agree with it or not, and the guy was wearing sandals. They say he was homeless. I don't know if he was homeless or not. That part I don't know. But what we can do is tell you the facts. The facts are that guy was shot dead from a security guard for pointing a gun at the security guard. Anything else around that, I don't know. You guys can Google it. You can come up with your own conclusion. Just please don't play the telephone game.
Right, because you guys are an independent news company, so you don't have any sort of, political oversight or any sort of giant governmental organization that's putting regulations on you guys.
And this is probably the last thing people want to hear, but I say don't vote. That's my opinion, my thoughts, mine. Because if I do vote, no, that means I picked a side. That means I said one side is right, one side is wrong. You guys are both right, and you guys are both wrong. I'm not going to get too political. But
what about voting for no candidate?
I would love to take half the red, half the blue, and put them together, and just we'll call it the unity, and have the unity team. And I'll vote for the unity team because you know that you have people on both sides. Or if you had a running mate who, let's say Biden picked a male, female, it doesn't matter, but picked a Republican.
Are you aware of who Brett Weinstein is?
I don't think I am.
It's called Unity 2020, and that's exactly what he's done.
Good.
I don't know if they've officially found their candidates, but they chose, I forget the guy with the eye patch.
I know who that is. I know who you're talking about.
Him and Tulsi Gabbard.
I only know him because of Pete Davidson.
Yeah. Yeah, look up Unity 2020. He's actually been getting censored by Twitter and some of these places.
In the Unity, you can come up with another name. And unfortunately, I was going to say the white party because you got red and blue, and then if white would be, but it just
it doesn't fit. It
doesn't fit. You can't have the white party. So, but you grab half of those people and put them together, you're gonna get some great results. You're going to get some great results. And the whole thing about voting, one, I'm in California, so what's the point? Two is I'm not gonna say you're right. I'm not gonna say you're wrong. I'm not educated enough. And one, I don't care. Whatever happens, I'm gonna make that work for my advantage. If I put my energy into saying how wrong you are and you did this and you did that, that was me putting my energy over here when I could have put it over here. And I'd rather put it over here.
Smart. That makes sense. Has there been any sort of oversight or regulation since the documentary in terms of the stringing industry? Does the government come down and say there's certain things that you can't film or can't put out?
Not here in America. We're kind of lucky. Other countries, there's certain things you can't record. They won't let you hear. Now, a lot of things are starting to get encrypted. A lot of things are starting to get encrypted.
Going.
Yeah, and the public can't hear. And there's a fight about that. And the media can't hear, but they'll give you access if you're, mainstream media. They'll also give independent as long as you have, somewhat of a background. And luckily we do. He hasn't had the conversation yet. Hasn't needed to. He just kind of got into town, just kind of starting it out. We have a 1-year plan and a 5-year plan. So during that time, it'll, hopefully work itself out.
I'm glad you guys are out here because I've worked on the strip for the last 10 years. And since I was 18, I've been hearing that Vegas is going to be the next LA. That's literally echoed probably every month from everywhere that I've seen. So that's one of the reasons why I started the podcast. Cause I was like, all right, if this is going to be the next LA, I want to be the go-to talk show for this because there's nothing here. So you guys are also the same way. There's nothing here. And so you get to create that market. And something I always say is that niches can become markets, but markets will never become niches. So.
Oh, that's deep. That's deep. That's almost as deep as, hold on. Every Laker fan is a Dodger fan, but not every Dodger fan is a Laker fan. It's an
mic drop.
It's an LA thing. It's an LA thing. Because as a cameraman and from being from LA, I've always said, if the Dodgers win the World Series, the city burns. So we just watched what happened when the Lakers won. That's a precursor. That is a precursor. And that's why I came up with that. Because there are way more Dodger fans everywhere than Laker fans. Again, there are. Never mind.
Oh, and I think game 2 is tonight, correct?
Yeah.
As of this recording.
Yeah, at 5:08. And we have plans. I think we're going to the Paris Sportsbook. I think that's where we're going to go watch the game and eat some dinner.
Okay, yeah.
And welcome to join us if you want.
I support that. I haven't been. I've only been to the Strip once since it closed down. Ever since, yeah.
Really?
I've been to work. A lot of the locals tend to just stay to the downtown area, and
downtown's looking great, man. Downtown's looking great. Growing up, I was always told stay away. As I'm getting older and talking with Jason, it looks like that's the place to go. That's where you want to go.
Look at this building.
Dude.
Like this whole area is becoming gentrified. Is whatever. However you want to use it.
It's great. Like he was. We were talking about the new casino that's opening up, which is crazy. How are you opening up right now? And my thought was, well, the plan was already in order. You have investors. Investors are going, I'm not political. I don't care. And that's most likely why it's opening. I don't know, just my thought. But I asked him, I go, when was the last casino to open in downtown? And he started to say it. I'm like, what, like the 1800s? Like it's been so long.
It's been like I think it's like 30 something years
since downtown's had a new casino.
So
that's awesome, man. That's going to bring a lot of business and employees and
I think
things going, man.
A lot of tourists are going to start staying down there. I just had it on the CEO of the Plaza Hotel, Jonathan Jossel, which is right next door to Circa. And they've been finding ways to tap into the millennial and younger markets by adding a lot of niche amenities to it. Like they have a bunch of pickleball courts and like the bingo tournament.
Are those two, since you've talking to both of them, are they working together with each other? Or
yes, they are working with each other.
I'm learning as I get older, work with each other.
Yeah.
Like what you saw me and Zach do, don't do. That's not the right thing to do. Work with each other. Have the relationship Howard and I have. I don't know why I'm looking at the camera. Have the relationship Howard and I have, not the one Zach and I have. You want to work. Like I am friends with the new owner. Zach's not in the business anymore. He might be coming back, but he's not the owner of OnScene anymore. And the owner of OnScene and I are friends. Howard and I are friends. It helps to.
You got to be the collab bros.
There's enough around now for everyone. Where it used to be, there was only so much room on TV for that. Well,
we're living in an age of infinite leverage. So you just need to, build all of those different collaborations that you can. It's something that I preach with a lot of the podcasters is like, the more that we interview each other on each other's show, our own audiences are going to grow, but those listeners are going to start listening to more shows, which therefore grows the entire industry. And that you can take that philosophy to a lot of different ones.
Most every stringer in the world reached out to Howard, Zach, or myself just to say hi, just to compare notes. Howard and Zach got back to no one. I got back to everyone. And now the movement is taking place. I figured out a way to take advantage of what happened. And why not bring all stringers together? If somebody has a question, why not ask? Why not answer it? What kind of camera do I have? This kind. What do I do here? I do this. Why not ask them? So I've helped other stringers around the country become one. My best is the guy in Canada. That's my best. He saw the show, asked me some questions. I told him what to do. There was a news director who said, "Hey man, I like your hustle. Can I hire you?" So the dude got a job at a news station from just watching the show and reaching out to me. And I have no problems helping people out, helping you promote your YouTube channel so you can go make money hitting record. There's enough room for everyone. That's what I was asking. Where they're right next to each other. Yeah. They have a reason to, but if you guys work together, boom, boom, they'll just go back and forth.
It's referrals. Yeah. It's the referrals. Something when I was in Greek life at UNLV, I used to actually hang out with a lot of fraternities, and I used to tell people, if you hang out with these fraternity guys, then the girls will notice that you're friends with them, and so it only therefore increases your social reputation across the campus. So it's good to know people, and it's so bad to be territorial. I never understood the idea behind it, like the hoarding.
I did back in the day because competition's a big deal. And there's only so much room, so much. And I get it. I got why we did it. And some of my guys are still like that.
Is it because distribution was limited back then?
Yeah. And some of my guys are still very, very competitive. I mean, you should be. You need to be. But you don't need to hate the guy right there. You don't. I go, get his phone number. Be friends with him. You guys can help each other out. And if he lies to you about something, that's one thing. But if you're friends, you're like, hey, man, did you get that thing on fire? He's like, I did. And you're like, then I don't need to be here wasting my time. But if you guys aren't friends, you're going to be wasting your time not knowing if he had that on there. What all you had to do is be like, did you get it on fire? He's like, I did. I'm like, all right. And then when you see, because we all post to social media, that he didn't get it on fire, then you never ask him a question again. You put him on your list. You don't want to be on the list.
You got to give them the benefit of the doubt.
Don't want to be on the list. So I trust everybody at first. I really do. And then when you lie to me, I'll throw you on my list.
Now that you've grown, what's it like having fans, or you being the go-to guy? Like, you're one of the pioneers of the stringing industry.
It's weird because I was this famous 20 years ago, just the way that I went about my business, like the way I just went about things. And growing up in the industry, like I said, we created industry. So I would watch videos and videos and videos, and I finally knew I wasn't going to be the guy in front of the camera. And it's weird. I picked up the camera because the best way to get in front of the camera is to control the camera. But I found out that I'm best behind the camera. But now I'm learning that it's best to turn it around. It's a full circle all over again. And it's just weird. It's weird making a living with a camera. It's really weird.
Isn't it strange where you don't want to put your face on there because you don't want to come off like pompous and egotistical, but the way that humans react is they react much better when your face is in it.
Yeah.
It's such a weird, 360 kind of view on it.
Nothing's changed. It is weird. Like when I'm live, I always ask people, please don't roll up on me while I'm staged because I don't know you. You might have great intentions, but I don't know that. If I'm at a scene, I'm at probably one of the safest places in the city because there's all these firemen and police officers. So please come up, say hello, hi. But the social media thing, people reaching out, it's my attitude hasn't changed because I grew up in that extreme sports industry where, hey, everybody, look at me. Look what we do. And that's why I hit record, to show people what it is that my friends and I did. And I've always been around the cameras. So, and then we made Video Crazy White Boys. So we were local celebrities for a little bit. And the 2008 reality show, and it's just nothing has changed. I've always been the same. It's just now everyone else is finally starting to figure it out. I've always known. Everybody else is starting to figure it out.
It's a great view. The question I wanted to ask earlier is, what's the longest you've ever staked out?
As in sat there.
We'll go say both ends. How long you've sat there and waited, and then how long have you actually rolled up to a scene and recorded for?
I've probably sat on my butt 4 or 5 hours. Didn't go anywhere. And before the internet, it was really tough to do. Then the internet showed up, and I got into eBaying, like in the 07s. I had to get out of that quickly. And it's hard to say. It's hard to say. Ask one more time. Let me get back to it. I had a thought. What was the question?
How long have you been staked out or rolled up and filmed a scene that's ongoing?
All right, so at least 4 or 5 hours waiting for one, and then at a scene, usually you're going to be waiting depending on if you want that corner shot or not, and a couple hours. I like to be in and out within 5 to 10. If I'm at a scene for more than 20 minutes, that's not good. But now there's a difference, so I like to be in and out within 5 to 10, but there are times where I've been a couple hours, and that's just waiting for the corner to finish their job so you can get a cart going from there to there.
That's the money shot.
It is when this was what sucks. It is when it involves kids. It is when it involves police officers and firefighters. Those are the type of celebrities. Those are the type of things where you want to get everything.
Because it's proof.
When Paul Walker died, you want to get his body going in the coroner van. I went to the coroner's office, and I was working with RMG at the time. Well, I wasn't with RMG, but I called RMG to say, hey, who's driving the van? I'm over here. Even though he's my competition getting over there, he's like, it's van number, blah, blah, blah. So I'd have it straight. So I got Paul Walker coming in. He stayed there and got the Porsche being put on the tow truck. At that point, all the stations left because they already told their story. Well, on certain stories, you stay there until it's all gone. And that Paul Walker footage still gets shown on TV to this day.
It's an unfortunate, but at that point, you're showing that it's more about the story than it is making.
And even the visuals
money.
And social media at that time didn't exist. And people love looking at smashed cars. It's weird. They don't like fires so much. They like looking at dead bodies and smashed cars. When I got into this industry, I was more about the visuals. I'd rather go to a story with a great visual and a terrible story, like a fire hydrant crash, where the industry has turned into, we care more about the story than the visuals. But I finally got back into, where I care about the visuals. I don't really care about the story. I'm not a journalist. I mean, I'm a video journalist, but I didn't go to school to teach people what happened. I am here to show you what I see.
Yeah, that's why you can put out the details of everything easy without any sort of bias, because that's not your focus, although you need it there to relate to the story.
And we do our best. And a lot of times we'll get somebody calling, that's not what happened, this or that. And I'll have to think about it. Like there was this one lady who was very upset at the way that we wrote the story. And then she kept getting back to me. And at some point she goes, well, the driver fell asleep. And then when he woke up, he pulled her out of the car. I go, whoa, 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 whoa. He fell asleep and got knocked out. And you're believing, because her goddaughter died. And of course he told you he fell asleep and wasn't going fast. He just killed your goddaughter. Now, whether he did fall asleep or not, you say he woke up and pulled her out. He woke up. Therefore, he got knocked out. Therefore, his car wasn't going slow. So the facts are the car was speeding. Maybe he wasn't racing. Like when you say speeding, you automatically think. But after going back and forth with her, I finally did say, I've done this enough times to know that it doesn't change the outcome. I'm very sorry for your loss. And all my stories are somebody's son, daughter, kid. Of course they want me to take it down off there, but it's also a lesson. I'm not just there throwing it out for entertainment and views. I still do have the original reasons why I put stuff up there. Lessons. You know, don't drink and drive. Don't speed.
Oh, well, being in Vegas, that's probably something you'll have an advantage on is LA. There's thousands of DUIs that happen here. Thousands. I believe it's one of the capitals actually in
who gets a DUI nowadays? Like Uber, yeah.
They have actually a special DUI task force in Vegas. I believe it's like 9 to 12 officers. And right before the COVID pandemic happened, I saw they had arrested like 900 DUIs just from this one task force. So they literally go out there actively looking for it.
I wanted to take my car back. Well, Uber home, and then Uber back to your car. Mm-hmm. Like my kids will have an Uber account. I don't care. I obviously don't want them drinking and doing stuff, but I know what I did when I was a teenager, and I know the crowd I hung out with, and I don't know the crowd they're going to hang out with, but you will have a Uber account. There's no reason for drinking and driving. Are you kidding me? Especially with what I see every day, every night.
One of the most terrifying things of working in a nightclub is driving home on that 15, because every week there's somebody driving on the opposite way of the highway. And I've actually drove by people going the opposite direction and always ends up in a fatality, always around like, Jason have to be aware of that.
No, he got one a couple months ago, or about a month ago. Got about a month between here and Baker. He had I think it was a double fatality, head on collision.
That's the most terrifying thing at night, leaving the graveyard industry.
So weird, graveyard. It's so weird to hear that too, because people are like, how does it feel to work graveyard? I'm like, I don't know, because my schedule, I just work when I'm up.
What time do you typically end at, or is there ever like a hotspot time area?
Not anymore. Not anymore. There was back in the day. So the way news works is it used to start at 5:30, but now it starts at 4 a.m. So if you don't have your big story in by 4 a.m., it better be something really good by 4:35, or don't even bother recording anymore. And then after 10 a.m., you have that window between 10 and 2, because the stations all are just kind of going and getting their own stories, and then they go live again. It is called Shot in the Dark because it is more lucrative at night, but now since 2020 in traffic, you can kind of go around during the day, but during the day, you're competing with all the helicopters and all of their ground units. So it's easier to get a story at night, harder to sell during the day. During the day, I always say you got to get the victim or the suspect. At night, you just got to get the story. So it's
a little bit more visually appealing too, with the lights going off.
Dude, my stream tonight, I'll just drive up and down the strip. I don't even need to get a story. I don't. I just need to see. Everyone needs to see the pretty lights. They see where I am. Why are you there? Are you in Las Vegas? And I go, no, I'm in New York. There's the Statue of Liberty with the mask on her face, wearing a Raiders jersey.
You want to know something crazy? Is there's multiple YouTube channels that have tens of thousands of subscribers, and literally all these people do is just walk down the strip with a camera, and they live stream it, and they'll get thousands of people watching. Literally all they do is just walk. That's it. No talking, nothing.
That's great. Great. That's one of the things that he and I were talking about to get the Facebook going. Just do live streams.
Also, another thing that I've realized since doing this podcast is there's a huge community, specifically on Twitter, of tourists who are just so infatuated with Las Vegas. There's probably 100 Vegas podcasts. More than half of them are from tourists, people who don't live in Vegas.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So you have like another market, because people are interested in Vegas that necessarily don't even live here.
That's cool.
So yeah, that's something to be.
It's definitely a tourist destination for sure. I mean, everybody around, it's for people in California, it's just another place to go, or people from LA and San Diego, it's just another place to go. But it's a destination for other people, which brings us to the Raiders. So what I'm about to say now, post-COVID, I guess this doesn't really matter. Are they allowing people in the games?
Still haven't. They said they were going to reevaluate after week 8.
So when I found out, 3 years ago, that the Raiders were coming to LA, I was like, that was the best thing the NFL could do, best thing for the city. If you live in Los Angeles, because we didn't have football forever. So if you lived in LA, and let's say you're a Minnesota Vikings fan, how hard is it going to be for you to get to Minnesota? But you can drive right up to Vegas, and now you got a Vegas trip and your Vikings. Yeah. So it was a great thing for NFL to come here. But everything I just said doesn't matter now, because we're in the new world. The new. You got the Rona.
Oh man,
you got the Rona.
Vegas is going to end up being one of the biggest sports towns in the country.
As it should be, man. I mean, it already is when it comes to the betting. This is. The whole world goes off of Vegas odds when it comes to stuff, but the whole world doesn't quite come here anymore. But it will once that stadium gets full packed. Well, I mean, that has everything to do with what we were talking about. You can gauge everything off the strip. Yeah. Once that strip is full of tourists, then that stadium will be full of tourists. You got to understand. I mean, sure, locals will be there, but I'm curious on once it does get filled, the percentage of people who live here versus the percentage of somebody who came to see that team or Oakland.
Or people are just in town. They're like, fuck it. We just got a comp from a bunch of the casinos who, they all reserve their own season tickets and they just give it to somebody who lost a lot of money or their high roller or whatever the case is.
Didn't even think about that.
There's a big portion of the casinos who bought season tickets.
Good. As they should.
Make sure it'll definitely be filled. And it's funny because before COVID happened in 2020, everyone in the nightclub and everyone worked on strip. We were calling it Money 2020. We're like, the draft is here. The Raiders are opening. The Super Bowl is going to be here in 3 years. And
it's crazy the correlation between the Raiders and Vegas. Now, the Raiders' record isn't quite what I'm talking about, but more of their what people think of them. Mm-hmm. So the correlation is kind of the same, where Vegas. Fun place to go, but be careful. Be careful. And same with the Raiders. Careful of that defense. They are known for cheating. Yeah. Vegas is known for taking your money. So the correlation between the two, they kind of have the same.
They're both bandits. Their reputation.
Yeah, they both have basically the same reputation of be careful. They're gonna fuck you up.
Yeah,
be careful.
The tickets are so expensive too. You'll probably want to post up outside and wait for some fights that are going to happen.
We've been talking about it, but it's to Los Angeles. It's actually a story. I mean, once it opens, people from Raider Nation, man, they're going to be making their way up north, and he's going to grab them going in, talking about it. And whether it's for LA news or whether it's for Vegas news, it's news because things are hopefully opening back up, man.
Yeah, we'll see, man. We'll fucking see. But I think this will be a good transition to the end. I always ask 2 questions, same questions, everybody. And we kind of touch on this a little bit. But the first question is, the year is 2030. What does the ecosystem of Loud Labs news look like?
I thought you were going to say the ecosystem of the world. I'm like, I
on fire.
I kind of have that answer. Loud Labs, 10-year plan. I didn't think that far ahead. I mean, actually, I did, but not when it comes to that. I have a 1-year plan and a 5-year plan. The 10-year plan, so when I got into this industry, I always said I want to have it figured out by 40, out by 45. I had it figured out by 40. It was my company. I'm 45 now. I'll be 46 at the end of this year. I could step away right now and be out, but I'm way too involved in it. And I told all my guys, I've worked this hard for 20 years. I'm not going to not work the same hard for 20. I'm not going to retire. You can't retire. Mine's it's not going to stop moving, so I'm not going to retire. I might not go out and physically hit record. So in 10 years, I see us being one of the social media conglomerates of independent news.
I like that.
That's what I see. And I have brought all stringers together and helped all stringers separately. That's how I see it in about 10 years.
Smart, because the average retiree dies after 7 years of retirement because they're just not doing anything.
I'll never retire. I look at like stand-up comedians and I look at actors. They don't stop until they physically die. I've learned for my business, it's best for me to be behind a keyboard or in front of a camera. It really is. Me going and chasing news now, it's not the best thing I can do for this business. The best thing I can do for this business is be in front of the camera and move footage.
Influencer status. Influencer status. Last question. What does Las Vegas mean to you?
That's the answer. And it's not that I'm laughing at it. I'm just laughing at my history in Vegas. So what Las Vegas means to me? Las Vegas means to me, I can wrap it up in 2 words. Good time. Good time. It's never a bad time. Even when you go home empty-handed, you still have those memories. Even if you go home empty-handed, you still had a good time losing it. You have a great story. I don't go home empty-handed. I don't gamble anymore. I used to gamble all the time. I have stories about coming here gambling. The last flight out of LA is at 10:45, and the first flight is at 5:45. So if you get on the last flight with a bunch of money, you can make a couple bucks, stop, come home, and now you have more money than you started with. And, you know, like I said, man, 21, 22 is great. But what Las Vegas means to me, good time. Good time. It's never a bad time. It's never a bad time here.
It's the way to look at it, adult Disneyland. Where can all the listeners get involved with you, Loud Labs, anything like that on social media?
Where can you find us? I personally is Scotland _ on Instagram, but I just put in Loud Labs. You'll find us.
Oh, fair. It is
we're
very
all over
simple.
the place. Yeah, just put in Loud Labs. I do want to talk about this. Actually, I don't.
Do it.
No, I was going to talk about the app, but I don't want to talk about the app. There's what's the point?
All right,
You'll figure it out. Yeah,
he'll leave you guys on a cliffhanger.
Yeah, you want to be a part of Loud Labs? Google Loud Labs app.
Yeah, and hit up Jason if this kind of thing interests you. A lot of people are looking for jobs right now. It could be a massive opportunity for anybody who's listening.
Yeah, you guys can easily find Jason. Loud Labs Facebook, Loud Labs News Facebook Vegas, right? Loud Labs Las Vegas, and same thing. You can probably reach out to him on there, right? Yeah, it wouldn't be easy to find him on YouTube. But yeah, for any of you people out there who love cameras, I always say, man, it is a job of passion. Don't try to do what we do to try to turn a profit or make money. It's a job of passion. Everyone's passion is different. Some people want to be with the firefighters. Some people want to be with the police officers. I just wanted to see my stuff on TV. I just wanted to see my stuff on TV. It's a hobby that has an opportunity to pay. That's what I tell all the new people. It's a hobby that has the opportunity to pay. And if you're not passionate about it, don't start. Don't start.
Passion, I always say, emphasized first and monetization comes second. Well, Scott, thank you for this opportunity. It's really been a blessing and an honor, and I wish you best on all of your endeavors, and hopefully you guys could go out and find something very interesting tonight.
Hopefully. Thank you for the invite. It was a great time.
Thank you. Thank you guys for listening, and we will catch you next time.